Hey and welcome in another Photoshop tutorial video. Today I'm going to show you something that you probably prefer because I noticed my videos that contains the people portraits tends to have bigger popularity than the one with the landscape. So today we're going to work on the image that contains someone, that is this amazing night portrait I did just a few days ago. So let me explain you what's going on here. This image was taken in Temple Street here in Hong Kong where I live. Amazing locations all the time, so you can also expect much more images like that, daytime, nighttime. I just need to find more people to take portraits with so I can deliver you more materials to learn. And this is the image before that I took. That's how it looks in camera when you open the raw file. And this is the image I ended up with. So as you can see, the colors are much more punchy. And what I'm going to do here is whole process from the very beginning, from the raw conversion till the final result. So if you want to create nice, punchy, clean images in Photoshop, I believe this is the best way to start with this video. And if you're not subscribing yet, if you are new here, make sure you subscribe, because at least a few times a week I'm trying to publish video on this channel, and I believe it's really worth. I've been working with Photoshop for 7 years. I know quite much. For the last 3 years I've been professional retoucher, so I believe you can achieve a lot of things by following me. Also, before we start, make sure you follow my Instagram, where I post my daily images here in Hong Kong, from the place I live. Amazing landscapes, amazing views. So I believe great Instagram feed to follow. And let's go back to our image right now. So once again, what happened here? The image before, it was already good. It's the night image, so it's quite dark. It's sure that we have to do something with the lights. We have to bring them up. We have to do some of this job. And as you can see at the end, I also cropped this image a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove it all. I'm not gonna save this image, and we're going to start whole process from the raw conversion. So I have to say this might last a little bit, but if you want to take great images, it's worth to spend some time in Photoshop. What we want to do at first here, we want to see how the image looks in different color profiles. That's why for the first step, I'm going to camera calibration and then camera profile. So Adobe Standard has quite flat colors. I'm always trying to see how the other profiles look like. Camera faithful, too dark, camera landscape, too dark as well, monochrome of course not, neutral also dark, portrait could go better, but it's very red, so I don't really like this. And well, what you can see, I think the portrait is the closer to some sort of reality, but it has really strong red colors, so we'll have to sort this out a little bit. Let's try to go with camera portrait. If I could go with these two, camera portrait or Adobe Standard, but for this night image, as you can see, Adobe Standard doesn't give me much saturation for the red color, so I'm choosing camera portrait, and I will try to work with the colors that I have here. And then I'm going to the basic panel, and what I will try to do here, of course, I'm bringing up the shadows quite much. I need to retouch this image, so I need to see the shadows well, and I will apply shadows a little bit later in Photoshop. Then what I need to do, I want to brighten this up. I know it's tricky, but we just need more light on this image. And also the highlights down as much as I can. And now this image slightly flatter than it was. The shadows are up. I'm going to add even more of the exposure. And why I'm doing this? Because it has to be visible for people. So now we got really nice colors, really nice punchy colors. You still can manipulate with them if that's what you'd like to do. For example, you could go to the hue, saturation, luminance, and if you don't like necessarily the green color, of course, here, we could go to hue, and you can manipulate with the greens. So you can drag this more into yellow colors or more into aqua colors, which I think were closer to the reality. That's why I'm going to drag this green more into aqua colors, maybe around this. Have a look before and after. Also, before we open this in Photoshop, what we need to make sure is that it just looks alright, that it doesn't have any weird colors, that it's not over sort of saturated, etc. Because once you start work in Photoshop, you want to have the image that is ready to work with. So I'm checking if it does look alright as a color, if everything fits here, and if it does, I will start working with Photoshop. I'm just thinking, should I add more of the exposure, but this image should stay a little dark. So this is the first step, the first process in camera. Very simple, as you can see. Let's remind ourselves, one step, working with camera calibration, checking the colors, bringing up some shadows, which is good for retouching because, for example, you will see more the details on the hair of the model. You will see more of the details everywhere where is the shadows on the face, so you can easily retouch. Also, you want to knock down the highlights because on one side of the image you had like really strong highlights which were like overexposed, so you want to get them down to see this yellow color much more. When everything is ready, I'm going to open this image, but I'm not going to hit open image here, but I'm pressing shift and I want to open this as an object. Why I'm opening this as an object, and I repeat this in every video, because once you open image as an object, you can come back anytime and apply some changes if this is what you like. So I can open, I have all the same settings here, which is great, work non-destructively. And if you would not do this as a smart object, you would not have this possibility to work. Then I'm going to create empty layer and we'll start another step, which is clean up process. Many people start with frequency separation, and I have to be honest with you, the frequency separation is not the right step to start with. You always want to start with the empty layer and clean the image on the empty layer. So I'm cleaning this with healing brush tool, but as I zoomed in, I can notice one thing. Before I started cleaning up yet, I want to go back, which was quite late, and let me put my headphones blank because my computer did some noise, which is not necessarily pleasant. Right. So as I saw the noise, and I should check this before, what I want to do here, let's get closer. There is some noise on the image. We want to reduce the noise a little bit. Let's see how far we can get, because it also has to look natural. So, okay, I think we around 50. Let's stay with 50. Quite simple value. And there we are. So it's a little blurry, but I do not want the noise. And by the fact it's not such a close-up portrait, we were able to do it. So as we're coming back to the cleanup process, of course, what I said before, remember, the other techniques are not necessarily the right start for you, and I do recommend you to start with empty layer, as I'm doing right now. So what you want to clean at first is all of the spots, the ones we have here, and it might take a few minutes. Don't have to be so careful, so precise. Why I'm saying it, I already mentioned frequency separation, so it would be bad if we waste all of our time just doing this cleaning up. So I'm gonna actually mix it. I'm gonna mix it with frequency separation. If some of the hair bother you here, you can easily remove them also by healing brush. It's not necessary, it's natural image. I just don't like when I have too much mess going on. But I believe most of the people wouldn't really pay attention to such details, but I do pay. So few of the hair that doesn't really do anything positive or negative, just distract me, I don't really mind to remove them. Okay, some mess here. Also, I'm going to switch into clone stamp and current below the layer, because we work on the empty layer, so always we have to have the current below. Paint this color over here, a little bit here, just to blend all of the not such nice areas. Once it's done, we might start working with frequency separation, and I use my frequency separation action, but I'm going to show you how to do this quickly because some of you might not have it. And what I'm doing, I'm pressing Command, Option, Shift, and E. If you're working on Windows, this is Control, Alt, Shift, and E to create a stamp. And the one layer you call low, duplicate, top layer, I'm gonna call high. So these are two layers that we require for frequency separation. We're gonna start with low, and we need to blur this out because this layer will be like 90% responsible for the color, so that there were the most of the colors will exist, not all of the colors. This is a mistake when it's said that all of the colors, and just blur this out till the level that you don't see like details, but you want just small blur. So for this image it would be 6 pixels. I see 6 pixels. Did a good job for the face. And then I'm activating the high layer, just make sure, as you can see, it's not so much blur. Activating the high layer and going to image, apply image, and the settings are always the same. For frequency separation, which is layer, it will be as a source, which will be low layer, so we get some information from the low layer. And blending here, you want to hit add if you work on 16-bit image. So I'm working on 16-bit image because the raw files are always 16-bit, and then if in camera raw you open the image and you have settings 16-bit, you always work on the 16-bit image. As you can see the confirmation on the top here in the tab. And only if you download some JPEG image are 8-bit. But if you work on your own images, you always have 16-bit, so then the settings will be low. Blending at scale to offset 0, and this invert box, make sure is checked. If that will be 8-bit image, that will be subtract, scale to offset 1 to 8, and this won't be checked. So quite simple to remember, and absolutely no reason to know any theory behind that. Just blending mode, switch into linear light, and let's put this to the group, and I'm going to call this FS, right? Zoom this in, and we start working on the high layer. I'm choosing clone stamp, and if you work on the high layer, you always use the current layer because it's actual layer, it's not the empty one. And with soft edged brush, you want to even out some of the areas. So like if you have some rough spots after pimples where we were doing, you might want to blur this out a little, like even out the area around, so we make sure there will be some soft blendings in between. As you can see, there's already some difference. So I have some spots after, and over here I had few spots. So if I blended this nicely on the top layer, as you can see, it's good method. And now I think you understand why it's very important to clean the image first, because you don't want to clean all of the image on this layer. It's not necessarily right. It's better to do this on an empty layer and then do some additional work on the top layer as well to blend everything nicely and make the skin look natural. Even out, but natural. This is not beauty portrait. It doesn't have to be fully flawless, for example. So the cleaning up process is done on the skin. I'm going to put these two layers into the group, and I'm going to call this clean again. The next step might be a little bit touch and burn. This is very easy process if you need just for small work. as this one is. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create two curve adjustment layers. Once I'm going to name as a D, as a Dutch, the other as a B. And the Dutch layer, I'm going to darken. Switch the blending mode into luminosity. The burn, of course, Dutch brighten, that was my mistake. And then burn down, blending mode luminosity. Let's darken. Okay, so inverted them. I do explain what's going on with Dutch and burn. I have even some videos here on YouTube. I have whole professional courses on Dutch and burn, on beauty retouching, which explain the subject in a few hours. For obvious reasons, I can't do it here, like it would take ages. And well, all of the information on professional Dutch and burn retouching are in my courses. Here I'm showing you quickly how to do this. One, brighten layer, other darkening, invert the layer masks, choose the white brush to work on. And what we want to do, you find the spots. For example, I want to darken some areas, and I can see the dark spots over here. So what I'm doing, I'm painting a little bit with this Dutch on this Dutch layer to brighten this up. Let's see if it works. It does work. As you can see, I'm brightening them. The rough shadows, the shadows that doesn't meant to be here. So not very complicated. And also, we don't need to do this that much because once again, this is just street portrait. So you want to just improve few things like eye bags. You want to even them out. Especially here, which we should do more on the frequency separation layer maybe here to blend this all, because it was quite rough area here. Except that, very simple process. Do some on the Dutch layer. So the Dutch layer is opposite the areas where you need to actually darken some things. Where else I would use the dodging? To brighten up these shadows over here that I had, and some of them are too strong because of the hair. Once again, no one will really notice them on this sort of image, but it's really, as you can see, the shadows look very natural from the fridge. I'll just cover this white area here. So we have nice and solid shadow. Okay. What else we want to do? For sure the neck. So I'm going to brighten up the line here. See, this is important. The neck have some of these lines. So if you don't like them, it's worth to use Dutch and burn on them. And also, what you want to keep in mind, you don't want to remove them completely because it will not look nice. It will not look natural. Everyone has these lines on the neck. This is not wrinkle. This is not any sign of aging. This is just how we are. So we actually go keep some of that. The hair, we might try to remove it. We should do it earlier. It would be easier on the empty layer. But it's all right. It's all right. So let's see the hand. If there is something, well, just simply few small spots that are impossible to notice. And all of this I would consider as a clean process. So whether it's some Dutch, some burn, cleaning up on empty layer, frequency separation, it's all part of the cleanup process. And you can see on the face, we did quick, but a fairly nice job here. And now we'll be going into the serious stuff. Important because what brings the real character of the image is the contrast. So you want to have really nice and selective contrasts on the image that will work well on each specific area. What I would like to do here, I would like to avoid bringing up contrast. I would avoid bringing up the lights on this left side because it has nice yellow color, and I understand it should be brighter, but it would ruin our image. So let's create two curve adjustment layers. That's what we always do for the contrast. One will be highlights, so I put the letter H. The other shadows, so I put the letter S. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to apply image, and I will apply the mask. So the layer will be merged, and blending mode normal, the best to go normal, multiply, it's basically the same. And then we hit OK, we can see the mask here. So as you know already, the white color represents what's visible, the black color represents what's invisible. So we might work a little bit on this mask. For example, with the black color brush, for example, I'm going to paint this with the color black, this area. And why I'm doing this? Because I don't want this area to be affected. It doesn't look nice, but it will do the job. It will do a really good job. This green can be bright, and I can't be bothered. So bring up the curve adjustment layer this way. Blending mode to luminosity, so we're not affecting the colors, just the lights. Good. We brightened up some of the areas, and now shadows. We're gonna darken some stuff. Blending mode to luminosity and image. Apply image. And now I'm going to hit invert. So this is inverted mask. Let's have a look. Okay, this is our shadows. A lot on the face. Not good. So we have to be careful because we don't want the face to get fully dark, right? Look at this. We want to be really careful with the shadows. This is very delicate subject here, because we're darkening a lot of the model face, which, well, we don't want. So the black color represents everything what is not visible. So just center of the face, where's the cheekbones, etc. I would not really add the shadows. And I think that's okay now. See, it's still visible because I painted over the face. So it all looks okay. What I would do more here, sometimes I notice these things working like this, especially about the fact that I talk here, I might miss something, but it needs some more dodging on the neck here. I believe you could agree. Yeah, now it looks better. So we have contrasts. I'm going to put this to the group, name this as a C, as contrasts or contrasts. Let's see, hand a little bit, if we can brighten this even more. And now colors. I'm fairly happy with the colors I have at the moment. I think in camera raw we're quite lucky with the profile that match this image really well. We need to be careful about the model face, because when I look right now at the image, I can see it's a little red, so we want to prevent the face from getting red for sure, but we might see how the colors will work, and we can use different adjustment layers. We can use curves. Curves will work always great. We can use selective color. We can use color balance. There's few tools that will do really well. So we can just experiment. I might show you just few different methods. For example, if you use selective colors, you'll have big control over the reds. So if you manipulate with reds going to magenta, your reds will become more magentic. If you go opposite side, your reds will be getting more yellow or even green. So if you do with this, better be careful, but it does give you some of the nice control. How about if we add some yellows to the reds? I think that could be nice, maybe just a little bit. and change the blending mode to the color. So it got more yellowish. If it's too much, make sure lower this. Really simple. We don't want to keep this complicated. I give it number 1. How about more? Well, we can for sure go with color balance. Not black and white, of course. Color balance, it's here. So I named this number 2. And with color balance, what I like, you have the control over shadows, midtones, and highlights over the specific area. Well, shadows, for sure. Some of the red, maybe. We have already some red. And how if we go with some blue as well on the shadows? Or you prefer some yellow? I think that usually I would go with the blue. So it gives like this weird dramatic effect. But what it's really worth to notice here, the image in total has quite warm atmosphere. So you don't want to, I believe this one gives quite odd effect. Even if it's much, the effect is not right somehow. For the highlights, do you want to go with cyan and make the lights more yellowish, or red and make this image even more red? I think it has enough red, so I would go with quite opposite directions here. Not so much of a difference. Let's see. Okay, shadows darker, but it's because of the blending mode normal, changing the color. Right, this image got some more color. Maybe I think it could be a little too saturated. If it is too saturated for you, easy way, hue saturation, and name this 3 for correction. What I would do here, you would choose some color. Let's find I don't see the blue color on this image, right? So choose blue, choose the eyedropper, and where you want to desaturate. What do you think it's too saturated? I think model face might be too saturated. So it's like reds, little reds. I would desaturate them just a little bit, but I just don't want this image to be overdone. So I'm taking down just a little bit of the saturation from reds for better balance between the colors. Well, and I think about the colors, that would be it. We could work with the curves, but I don't want to overdo. I like the colors as we have. Let's see. Does it change much? Not so much. As you can see, the reds are slightly stronger. The yellows got more yellows instead of being that orangey. And the reds are slightly calmer and more orangey. So, well, we might actually try if we want. I even don't know if I would add any colors before, but the thing is, I wanted to show you a few different, let's see, like what we could do with the curves. For example, getting more cyan on the highlights, would it fit? I don't think so, really. Opposite way, more red in the highlights and cyan in the shadows. Also, I don't really like this effect. My favorite channel to work with is probably the blue, but also I don't think I would go much here. So you can see curves, it's not really my favorite tool for the color grading, and I usually stay with the color balance if I want to balance some colors and do some other steps. So okay, we have the contrasts, we have the colors. Time for the final adjustments, which I always do in the camera roll. So what I'm doing here, Command, Option, Shift, and E to create a stamp, Control, Alt, Shift, and E. If you work on Windows, let's name it Final. Convert to Smart Object, because as always, we work absolutely non-destructively. And well, what could we do more? For sure, increase highlights, maybe contrast, not so much, because this image still has a lot of contrast because of the strong lights itself. A little bit of the highlights. I might bring up some shadows. Dark blacks, sorry. Okay, It's good. Contrast, just a touch, really. And what else here? Do we like the colors? Do we like the yellows? I do like the yellows that I achieved. And let's see what else could we do. Don't think I'm gonna do split tuning. If I would do, probably warm colors on the highlights, cold on the shadows. I don't think it improves. It just changed the atmosphere of the image. Sort of works for it. Maybe we could apply some small amount for both. Let me see. I think it works really well, so I will stay with it. Lower the highlights though. Okay, and also one of the last steps that you saw before, I want to change some of scale. So I'm going to zoom this in, but also because I didn't like the band on the hand, and now I think it looks more clear. Okay. Last thing that I barely do, I want to liquefy the face a little bit. I think it's pop out closer, so maybe it could be a little smaller. I'm not a huge fan of liquefy, I have to say it right now, but I think it might be done here, and I think it will work. Let's see. So I didn't really change the shape, what I wanted to do. I just make the face a little bit smaller. So this is how I process the image. We might open the raw file again. Let's reset camera raw defaults. And we can see it. So I would end up the talk looking into my camera, but you probably heard my camera turned off. It wasn't me. It was just me talking too much and not having enough of the SIM card. So that's why I can't talk to the camera. But this is the result this is the image, the file, the raw file we started with. This is how we ended up. What I'm really interested in is your opinion. What do you think? Do you think I did something wrong? Do you think there should be done something better? Do you think I did something wrong with the contrast? Do you think I should make them stronger? Do you think I should improve the lights more? How you think about colors? Do you think I should push maybe the blue color on the shadows, or do you think it's good as it is? Do you think it's perfect right now? Or maybe you could do something better. I'm really curious of the opinion, because colors are very subjective matter. Of course, there is laws of the color, how to use them, but I want to listen to the opinion. What do you think? Because it's all about communication. So for those who stay till the end, I will be really happy to know what do you think. And I do hope I'm gonna talk to you once again very soon with some new image or some new video, because I do want to start recording videos here in Hong Kong. Amazing place to do it. I could share some information about the city, try to make some LUTs for the video, some editing tips for the video, and of course photography and post-processing that will stay with this channel for sure. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment with your opinion, leave a like, it really means a lot. If you're new here, subscribe, check my Instagram, check my courses if you're interested, and I will see you again very soon.